Weather mostly sunny this week with highs in the low to mid 90s, overnight lows in the upper 60s. Save the date for the SCVi Chamber Latino Business Alliance Gala, Saturday, September 8th at 6 p.m. at the Newhall Family Theater for the Performing Arts. For more information, go to scvchamber.com. And for all things Santa Clarita Valley related, go to hometownstation.com.
Good morning and welcome in. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 AM, and now coming to you on FM as well on 98.1. This is SCVi Charter Schools, Our Way on the Highway. I'm Matt Watson, filling in for our usual teenage guests who are enjoying the last days of their well-deserved summer vacation. Today in studio, I have two guests with me, Tina Toval and Nessa Refredo, and we're going to be talking about our back-to-school special. Certainly, many of you that can hear my voice today have either dropped your kids off at their first day of school this morning, or you're going to be doing so in the next couple of days. Good morning, Tina. Good morning, Nessa.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Tina, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what's your role at SCVi Charter School?
Well, I grew up here in Santa Clarita Valley, and I was fortunate enough to be at SCVi during their founding year 10 years ago as a student teacher. So they actually hired me right after that, and I've been with the school ever since. I started teaching 4th grade, then eventually 4th and 5th grade, and now I'm in a leadership position. I'm a leadership resident, and we have a phenomenal leadership team at SCVi, and so I'm just one of the members there.
Wow, and you're celebrating your 10-year anniversary with SCVi and iLEAD Schools.
Am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Nessa, how about you?
Hi. Let's see. I've been with iLEAD the last few years at a campus down in San Fernando Valley. Prior to that, I was an educator at the first independent charter school in the country down in San Fernando Valley.
Wow.
And I was there for almost 15 years. I did my teaching credential at Cal State Northridge, and now I'm up here at Santa Clarita. Super excited.
Go Matadors. So you were working at an iLEAD school down in the San Fernando Valley. Now you're up here at SCVi?
Yes.
Fantastic. Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
So you mentioned that you were at the first independent charter school in California. Ladies, can you tell me what a charter school is and maybe how it's a little bit different from some of the traditional public schools, the local schools that our listeners might be more familiar with?
So charter schools are still free public schools, but it's just an alternative to traditional public schools.
Okay, we are living in the era of school choice. I know when I was growing up, and probably you as well, the only choices we had was the local public school around the corner or private school if your family could afford that option.
Right.
But nowadays there's all kinds of options. I know my children chose 2 different schools to attend, and there are a lot more options for parents out there. You know, I was reading in a report in the USA Today a few years back saying that 20 years ago the most important decision a parent made was what doctor to take their children to, and today that has been overtaken by what school to send their kids to because it is an option now. So tell us about SCVi. How is SCVi different? What is SCVi all about?
Well, we are a project-based learning school, so our kids develop projects, and we also focus heavily on social-emotional learning, so we like to teach the whole child. Do you want to add anything else, Nessa?
Yeah, we focus a lot on project-based learning, so the learners will be posed a question driven by standards and their personal interest, and together they'll devise a project with their facilitators, or vice versa, the facilitators with the learners, and they will be engaged and set forward on just an inquiry of learning.
That sounds really exciting, and there's quite a bit to unpack there. But let me ask, I know SCVi is located just off of Highway 126 in the Castaic Industrial Center. So is it just the families in that neighborhood that can attend? Who's allowed to enroll at SCVi?
Anyone is allowed to enroll. We actually have a lot of learners from several different areas. We obviously have learners from the Valley. We have learners from Fillmore. We have learners from all different parts of Santa Clarita. So there's kids from all over that come to SCVi just for that different approach to education and those opportunities that we provide.
Okay, fantastic. So it doesn't have the same boundaries that the local public school does.
Right.
And it sounds like kids are even coming from, in some cases, out of the county.
Yeah.
I've heard that that charter schools are allowed to draw kids not only from anywhere inside their county, but also from adjacent counties. That so being located so close to the Ventura County line, that puts us in a very unique and exciting position.
Yeah.
So you guys talked about project-based learning. Project-based learning is really exciting for the kids. Talk about the process. What makes project-based learning different than when I started teaching 23 years ago, standing there and delivering lessons to my kids? What is that process all about, and how is that beneficial for our learners?
So there's a lot of choice when it comes to project-based learning. It's not necessarily like we used to take a test with pen and paper, and that's how we show our knowledge and learning. With project-based learning, kids can take a project and take a different avenue in the project that piques their interest, and they can showcase their learning in a variety of different ways. There's a lot of opportunities for collaboration, so the kids get to learn how to communicate with one another, delegate tasks, and it's a lot really similar to what they're going to experience in the real world when they're out in the workforce. So it does prepare them for those kinds of things as well.
You know, you're absolutely right. In a recent survey, both college presidents as well as HR directors, human resources directors, identified the number one quality that they're looking for in either an applicant to college or a candidate for hiring them for a position was the ability to collaborate. So it's really important that we're teaching our kids to do that from an early age so that it's not the first time they discover it when they get into the workplace.
Right, because with collaboration, there comes so many things like problem solving and being proactive and those things that we value and teach our kids that unfortunately maybe other schools don't necessarily focus on because they're just so used to teaching in the way we used to learn, like we said. So yeah, it's really helpful for them.
I bet. Yeah, those listeners out there that may run their own business or are in the position to be hiring people, I'm sure you all can imagine how important it is and how valuable it would be to have even young entry-level people being able to problem solve and work well with their colleagues of different ages and different backgrounds. That's
Sure.
really important. Nessa, you mentioned an interesting word. You talked about facilitators. I know that's what at SCVi and iLEAD schools we call our teachers. So why do we call them facilitators? How is that different than being a classroom teacher?
I think the number one way it's different as the facilitator's position is to guide the learners and to help them research and understand and kind of just guide them in their learning versus lecturing all of the time.
Okay, so like Tina mentioned, giving the kids voice and choice, it really puts the learner in the driver's seat of their education and kind of puts them in charge. But we don't call them teachers. Do they still have teaching credentials? Are they still qualified to be leading our kids in the classroom?
Definitely, yes. They still are credentialed teachers. We have a lot of remarkable different people with different backgrounds. I know we have a lot of people that may have been studying something other than education, and so they're bringing their personal experience. We have someone that was once a sports writer who now has his teaching credential, and he's guiding kids. We have other people that were writers,
Theater
actors,
background. Yeah.
theater.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, so not only highly qualified educators, but also industry experts. That's fantastic. So in project-based learning, if I understand you correctly, the kids can kind of take things their own direction. They're in the driver's seat of their education, like we said. So how can we be sure that they're learning what they're supposed to learn? You know, we're in the era also of kind of high-stakes standards. There's a lot of stuff that we're responsible for making sure our kids learn. How can we be sure in project-based learning that they're learning all those things?
So within the projects, we still incorporate the standards, so they are able to connect what their interests are and what the project is with the standards that they're supposed to be learning. There's also a lot of benchmarks that the facilitators have throughout the project planning process. So it's not just let the kids go and figure it out and let them do whatever they want to do. There is a big process behind that. There's planning of the projects. The facilitators fill out design guides. They develop rubrics with the kids. And like I said, the benchmarks are the check-ins where the learners are able to present to the facilitator what they've been doing, what direction they're going. And then the facilitator also, like Nessa said earlier, guides them in the right direction to ensure that they're still getting what they need to be getting out of it.
Yeah, in the meantime, they will also be doing workshops on different skills that need to be taught. So rather than opening your textbook and then completing a workbook page, the facilitators say they're incorporating a writing piece and they need to learn how to write a paragraph. So they will still have guidance and a workshop maybe on paragraph writing or a strong topic sentence that they will then incorporate into the project they're doing.
Okay, so it's kind of like guiding them towards that independence. You know, I'm a parent of two teenagers, and I always referred parenting and teaching in the same way, in that we're kind of working our way out of a job. We want to continually prepare our children for the day that they no longer need us. So I guess those benchmarks and workshops and check-ins are kind of giving them that independence, but at the same time making sure that they're staying within the parameters and getting everything that they need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, terrific. Now, Nessa, you also mentioned social emotional learning. Can you tell me a little bit about social emotional learning? What does that mean, and maybe why is that important?
Well, social emotional learning will address the whole child. And I think a good example of that is I once had a learner who just really excelled in mathematics. And he could answer any math question, but if you asked him to write the work on paper, he struggled. And then getting along with his peers, he also struggled. It was really hard for him. I would tease him lovingly. It was always hard for him to just come down to us mere mortals because he was just so able to comprehend. But for him, he really struggled with empathy. He struggled with patience. And so I guess a good example of how we could address that being social emotional learning is every morning we have our advisory with our morning circle where we do ways of counsel. So rather than just talk to that child individually, I might talk about a time that I struggled with patience with other people and let the kids know. And then all of the children could have an opportunity to share a time they struggle with patience or empathy. And therefore, we're all learning by each other's example that we're all kind of working on similar things.
We also talked to them about the 7 habits. So Stephen Covey has the 7 habits of highly effective people, and they also have the 7 habits of highly effective teens and 7 habits of happy kids. So we focus on the 7 habits a lot.
I like that, the 7 habits of happy kids. That's cool.
So yeah, that's for the younger kids where they learn just what basic problem solving and sharing and empathy even means. So it's cool how it's broken up into, different age groups, and we talk about those a lot within our social emotional curriculum and discussions.
Yeah, this year we are doing extensive retraining with the Leader in Me program, and we're becoming a lighthouse school.
Wow, what does that mean? The Leader in Me and Lighthouse School. It sounds really attractive.
Right. So the Leader in Me is a program that's based on the 7 habits of happy kids, where the staff is trained on how to address all of that and how to roll it out in the classroom. And Lighthouse School means that we will be able to train other schools. We'll be experts in the field or in the program.
So kind of like what a lighthouse is, kind of a beacon to other schools. So I guess building stronger leadership in your teaching staff while you're doing that with your learners, and kind of making SCVi a leader in that area of building leaders.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds really exciting. It sounds like it's about, teaching the whole child. When I feel like I'm revealing my age quite a bit this morning, but when I was in school, it seemed like the teacher was there to teach me, those 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, which I always thought was funny because if it's an R, arithmetic, how well are they teaching me to read? But yeah, the teachers were really about teaching those academics, which are really important. That's the reason we're sending our kids to school.
Sure.
But we're teaching them a lot more than just the basic skills.
Right.
I mean, say, I guess in a traditional programmer, or like when we were growing up, all of the problems might happen on the schoolyard, like during recess, and you come back and you want to tell your teacher about what happened, and they said, we'll talk about that later because we need to get started on the grammar lesson, and if we don't get started, we're going to get behind. But then you have the learners are sitting there and they're just focused on whatever problem they had. We actually find it very important to take the time to help them look at what happened and give them skills to address the problem, so in the future they'll be able to find the words or the strategies to fix those things on their own, or come back for more help if they need it.
Okay, so it's kind of like the hierarchy of needs. When kids aren't getting their basic needs met, or when they're worried about, like you said, that issue of, gosh, what's going to happen to me at lunch when I go out on the playground, they're certainly not able to focus on their learning. So if we're able to work with them and build that confidence, the problem-solving skills that you both referred to, that leadership, then, they're able to focus more on their academic studies and the learning at hand, but then B, they're just more mature, responsible, productive citizens.
Yeah, and then also as a result, the learners have great relationships with their facilitators, because they actually feel like those are adults that they can go to, that'll listen to them, that they can trust. So you really see the relationships between the kids and the adults, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's real amazing to see. One thing we focus on is self-advocating, and I can give an example. Last year, one of the learners spent their advisory time, and what the facilitator was focusing on how to advocate for yourself and how to stand up for what you believe in, and address things that you don't feel are just or fair. And so a couple of the learners went to one of their facilitators the following morning to address some of their concerns on the workload. And so then it became a real conversation between two fourth graders and their facilitator, and they discussed the workload, and they said how they felt, and they worked it out, and there were some adjustments made, and it was very impressive to have them do that without having parents call the facilitator, or it was very organic.
So the kids were a little concerned that maybe too much was being asked of them. They were being worked a little bit too hard, and instead of going home and whining and complaining about it, or just protesting in the classroom, they brought it up and had a calm, productive discussion with their facilitator.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is the facilitator listened, where normally you would, have a seat, whatever, like kind of brush them off. But I love that the facilitator took the time to listen and value what they said, even as 10-year-olds.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of times as adults, even educators in the classroom, we tend to think of children as almost fully done human beings.
Right.
But one of the first things I noticed on campus at SCVi is I kind of jokingly refer to it as our kids have the audacity to think that they're living in the real world now and can change it now. But the truth is, when we step back and let them, they actually do.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So you guys have kids on campus that aren't just showing up and doing their schoolwork and going home. You've got kids that are starting businesses, starting nonprofits.
Yes.
There was a learner at your school that shot his own full-length movie last year.
Yeah.
So our kids are changing the world now, which is really exciting.
They sure are.
Yeah, I always used to think of myself as a teacher as preparing the kids for when they are in the real world, but they're there and they're doing it now.
Yeah.
I was talking to another one of the educators at SCVi recently, and he talked about how important it is for us to be teaching our kids to be content creators rather than content consumers. How their job, even at this young age, is to be producing, to be putting stuff out there, to be creating, not just sitting back and being a passive consumer of the things that are out there.
I love that.
Yeah. So, if our listeners are out there and they're wondering where they can get a little bit more information about this school, where we teach our kids through project-based learning, we educate the full child with a strong social emotional learning background. If they want a little bit more information, where can they go?
They can come to our website, which is iLEADSantaClarita.org. They could also go to iLEADschools.org. Would you like the phone number?
Sure, yeah. Let's give them the phone number.
Okay, the phone number is 661-705-4955. 212-482-4820.
Fantastic. And I know a lot of the area schools have started today, but you guys don't start today. You start in a couple more days. When does school start?
School starts on the 21st, so next week, and then we actually on Friday, our learners are coming for Meet the Facilitator night. So they're coming to meet their facilitator, see their classroom, check everything out, and then school will start on Tuesday.
Okay, fantastic. That sounds kind of cool. Kind of an open house before school actually starts, where they get to. I remember before the first day of school, I was always nervous about what's my teacher going to be like? Is he or she going to be mean or nice? So they actually get to meet them and get those jitters out before school even starts.
Yeah, and they love it. They're so excited to be there, so it's nice.
So that sounds like a family event. That's an event for people that are already enrolled in our school. But if I was curious about SCVi, is that an event that I'm allowed to kind of show up at and maybe look for one of you two and say hello and see a little bit more about what the school's all about?
I believe it's more for the returning students. We do have an upcoming prospective parent night. So if people aren't at our school yet, there will be a meeting on September 19th at 7 p.m. at the Shakespeare Theater. There's no need to RSVP. You can just show up at 7 o'clock and we will give you all the information there. If you'd like to come for a tour, that will be set up once you come to the prospective parent night.
Fantastic. And let's talk about that a little bit more when we come back. You know, Tina, I know you know my daughter, and the other day I was washing the car with my daughter. After about 20 minutes, she said, Dad, couldn't you just use a sponge instead? And with that, we're going to head off to our commercial break. We're going to hear a little bit of a word from our sponsors, but we will be right back with SCVi Charter Schools, Our Way on the Highway. I'm your host, Matt Watson, and this is your hometown station, KHTS.
You worry because your mom and dad aren't as active and are finding it more challenging to live on their own. The answer? Premier Assisted Living Community, Oakmont of Santa Clarita, now leasing. Located on Newhall Ranch Road, Oakmont of Santa Clarita, bringing comfort and luxury to assisted living. Your parents can enjoy 5-star amenities and panoramic views in a world-class community. No other assisted living community has this kind of luxury and amenities in our valley. Visit oakmontofsantaclarita.com.
Mission Valley Bank is a commercial bank in the Santa Clarita Valley that really puts the community into community banking.
At Mission Valley Bank, we strive to be a trusted advisor to our clients, and that means being an integral part of the communities we serve. We started the Give Where You Live program to help bring awareness to our nonprofit partners. We're more than just a local business bank. In fact, we're a full-service, independent commercial bank that is locally owned, community-minded, and relationship-driven. I'm Tamara Gurney, President and CEO of Mission Valley Bank, and I invite you to experience the Mission Valley Bank difference, where your success is our mission. We want to be your most valued bank.
Mission Valley Bank has been named Most Trusted Advisor Business Banker by the San Fernando Valley Business Journal 5 years in a row and received the Business Leadership Award by the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce, Valley Industry Association, and SCVi Economic Development Corporation. Visit them at their Center Point branch location or at missionvalleybank.com. Member FDIC.
With Facey Medical Group, good health is within your reach. Our doctors provide Santa Clarita's finest primary and specialist care at 4 convenient Santa Clarita locations. If you're looking for connected, convenient, personal care, there's no better place. We accept most health insurance, including plans offered through Covered California. Call 1-844-MY-FACEY for more information or to schedule an appointment.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 on the AM dial, and now coming to you on FM at 98.1. This is Matt Watson from SCVi Charter School, your host for Our Way on the Highway. Welcome back. Today, again, is our special back-to-school edition of the show. We're talking with Nessa Raffredo and Tina Toval about some of the exciting things going on at SCVi. Nessa, when we left, you were talking about a prospective family night, an opportunity for our listeners who might not be enrolled yet to come see what SCVi is all about. You know, we talked about living in the era of school choice, and so anybody that can hear my voice right now it has the ability to enroll their child at SCVi. So can you share with us that information again? When is that prospective parent night?
That will be on Wednesday, September 19th at 7 p.m. right on campus in the Shakespeare Theater. There's no need to RSVP or sign up. You just show up. And once you're there, we will get your information and we'll be able to invite you to school tours that will be happening in December. What else can I tell you?
Well, I know the address is 28060 Hasley Canyon Road in Castaic. That is right off Highway 126 in Hasley. It's in the Crossroads Shopping Center. It doesn't look like a regular school, does it, Tina?
No, because one of the first things you see is a Jack in the Box and a Starbucks.
I bet the kids love that.
Oh, yeah. And the teachers love the facilitators love the Starbucks for sure.
Yeah, I can tell you my son is a middle schooler, and he was at one of the Valley campuses. And his teacher or his facilitator had told him, well, there's a Starbucks at the campus up in Santa Clarita. I said, no, he's pulling your leg. And this was a couple of years ago. And anyways, when I came on board and had to go to Human Resources, sure enough, the first thing I saw was a Starbucks and a sushi place. So
yes.
Well, it's all about meeting our kids and our facilitators' needs.
That's right.
So, Nessa, you talked about coming up from one of our Valley schools. So last year there were some things going on and some changes happening in one of our neighboring school districts in the south, and you, along with some of the other staff members and quite a number of our families, have decided to make the move up to SCVi this year. Can you talk about some of the new staff members joining SCVi along with you that have come up from that Encino school?
Yeah, we're definitely very lucky that we had the opportunity to join Santa Clarita, and we're amazed that it's at least half of our learners are coming, and almost all of our staff. We have a couple of staff members that will be joining each grade level team, and I think that will be a beautiful way to bring together all of the superpowers of all of the facilitators. Super exciting. We just had training. We just had over a week of training and professional development and a retreat for staff bonding. And it's so exciting to see how well everyone is getting along and collaborating all of their ideas. But we have two dynamic K1 facilitators that have joined SCVi. They both have several years background K1 as well as preschool teaching. And they've been teaching together, and they're just a great dynamic duo. We have someone coming to the second, third grade team who's actually we've imported from England, and she's bringing together all of her experience with the project-based learning from England.
I think I met her. She's got a tremendous amount of energy, doesn't she?
She is awesome.
Yes. And actually, our second, third grade team this year is going to be really exciting because each of the facilitators come from an iLEAD school, whether it's SCVi or another campus, but they've never worked together. So it'll be really interesting to see how they come together and bring all of their experience.
They've already definitely started some beautiful collaborations, so that's been great to see.
Yeah, we have a couple of people new from the Valley on the 4-5 team. We were bringing, I was looking down the list, and there's one or two facilitators that we've asked to join each grade level team, so it's going to be really good to see how they all come together.
I love the way you guys have done that. We talked about Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and how that's just such an integral part about what you do at SCVi. And one of the 7 habits is the ability to synergize. Yeah. It sounds like you're kind of taking the best from both schools and folding them in together and just allowing each other to bring the best out of each other. Tina, what about some of the people that are continuing with us from SCVi that have been around for a while? I know you were on a pretty dynamic team for a few years. Can you talk about maybe some of those family favorites that that everybody's looking forward to seeing back on campus this year?
Yeah, so on the 4-5 team where I was, we still have Mr. Kingsley and Miss Enich and Miss Munn, so they're still there. And in K1, we have Miss Megan, who's been there for a while too, so she's a great she's a great part of that team as well. In 2-3, we have Miss Vasquez, who's been there, and then the other ones that have come on board. In middle school, of course, we have Mr. L and Mr. F, who famously do our Civil War reenactment. So they're still there and on board, and we have wonderful high school facilitators there, Miss Senna, Mr. Williams. We have a lot of our great staff around still.
So that's really cool. A lot of great staff coming back, a lot of great great staff joining us. I'm really excited. You know, I was with you guys at the retreat, and I saw the same thing you did, Nessa. The way there were two very highly potent teams in their own rights coming together and building something that's just going to be so incredible. Really excited about what's coming up this year. So speaking about what's coming up this year, what are some of those things that our learners and our families can look forward to? What have you guys got on the calendar, whether it's some of those PBL projects that you've got going on in the classroom or family events? What are some things that we can look forward to on the SCVi calendar? Can you guys talk about maybe one of the projects that's planned? I heard somebody talking about one of the projects called What's Wrong with Harriet? Are they planning to do that project again this year? I know it's a family favorite.
Yeah, I believe they are. So 4-5 does a medical project. I think they just did it this past year, so
okay.
They might be doing it not this year but the following year. But we are just in general really focusing on creating more authentic audiences for our projects. So I know that's going to involve a lot of our projects being out in the community, so that everybody can see kind of what we're about. So we're definitely looking forward to spreading, the SCVi knowledge everywhere, so more families are able to kind of see what we do.
So fantastic. So as school's picking back up, I know it takes a little time for facilitators to get know their kids, and then they're going to launch their projects. So probably around the middle of October, maybe late October, we could get online, take a look at the community calendar, the SCVi community calendar, and see some of those presentations of learning.
Yeah,
that's really great when they get out into the community. You know, I was at one of the POLs out at Barnes & Noble a year or two ago, where kids in the middle school had written some of their own books, and it wasn't just a couple of pages printed up on Microsoft Word. They had their books that had been completely bound. They weren't like real books. They were real books.
Yes.
And they had a Meet the Author night where the kids were reading samples from their books. They were doing a Meet the Author event where they were sitting behind tables and autographing their books for people that were buying them. It was a really neat, like you said, an authentic event. Why is that so important for the kids to have an authentic audience for their projects rather than just turning in their work like I always did to my teacher?
You definitely see them take a lot more pride in their work, knowing that other people are going to be seeing what they're doing, especially adults and people out in the community. They tend to, it just kind of kicks it up a notch, and it just really
gives it meaning.
Yeah.
Gives it meaning for them to know that other people are interested in what they're doing. This year we're really asking the facilitators to focus on creating new projects to address what their new learners are interested in and kind of build projects from there. So we've really asked them, if you have legacy projects that we know the kids are all looking forward to, we don't want to get rid of those. We know, I'm sure people have heard of the Civil War reenactment. Those sorts of projects we want to keep in place, so kids that are coming up into their new grade level get to have the opportunity to do that. But we also want them to create new projects. I can tell you an example of a project from last year. Our 2-3 team, our second and third grade team, wanted to start gardening, and they weren't quite sure what they wanted to do with gardening, but they knew they could bring in language arts and writing and poetry and recipes. They knew they could bring in a lot of math, but the two facilitators had no experience with gardening, but still wanted to challenge themselves and learn together. So the facilitators actually enrolled in a program that was at the Huntington Library, and they went to classes themselves. I believe the woman that organized it, Lindsay Stranahan, that organizes our field studies, which are our field trips, I think she found that project and brought it to them. So we had the facilitators learning, and then they brought what they learned into their classrooms. And the kids were encouraged to find family recipes, bring them and write the family recipes. They were encouraged to learn the healthy attributes of different fruits and vegetables. Then the kinder first grade team joined them, so it became, 4 grade levels are now working on a similar project. They created their own gardens, and then they did their presentation of learning at the local farmers market. So they rented space for a booth, and what they presented was a digital magazine. They decided to keep it environmentally safe, not use
Cool.
kill a bunch of trees. And they
Kill those plants that we just planted to print our magazine.
Yeah, exactly. So they brought their iPads, and they asked for donations to share the magazine, and then in turn then the kinder and first graders actually went to stand in front of their fruit or vegetable that they had learned about. They asked passersby. Their parents were with them. Parents came, of course, parents were with them, and they asked the passersby, "Can I please tell you what I learned about bananas?" So you can imagine the look on, just the local community, just different people out at the farmer's market when a 6-year-old is explaining the healthy attributes with a strong, presentation voice and looking them in the eye and explaining everything they know about bananas. And then the team actually raised about $400, I believe, and they donated it back to the local farmer's market. So it was all a big community project, and you can imagine the difference, sharing all of that knowledge at farmer's market with people they've never met before, versus just writing a paragraph and turning it into their teacher.
Yeah, and hoping my teacher doesn't just give me a grade and throw it in the trash.
Right.
Gosh, so much learning going on there. So many good things happening with the rigorous learning and everything that they're learning about plants and bananas, but then also conserving the environment, learning those leadership skills, the communication skills. Tina, it always strikes me, no matter how many times I take friends and guests on a tour of SCVi, the one thing that really hits me is when the kids come over. And I'm not talking about just the high school kids, although they're really awesome. I'm talking about the kindergartners, the third graders that walk up to us and immediately start telling us about what they're doing in their school. And it doesn't matter who's in there. I can be with a friend of mine. I can be with a local politician. I can be with a group of 20 dignitaries. And these kids will come up and just completely comfortably and articulately talk about what's going on in their class. Is that something that you guys do intentionally? And how do you teach your kids to be so comfortable at such an early age?
I think it's just a very natural and organic thing that happens with the POLs, with the social emotional curriculum, and the time we take to develop the whole child and talk about these things. It's something that I think is just so natural to them, and they don't really think twice about it. Our kids are so comfortable talking to adults and large groups, and even if they aren't at first, they definitely get there, and we help support that. So it's just such a normal thing to them, especially our kids who have been at SCVi. We have learners who have been at SCVi since kindergarten, and now they're going into high school, and they don't know any other way. And we actually one time had a graduate from SCVi come and talk at one of the Heart Board meetings, and she was explaining to them, and she was in college, and she was explaining that in her college class, one of their assignments was to create something and present it, just to the class. And she thought it was so interesting how the people in her group were so nervous and nobody wanted to present. And that was a big, component of anxiety for them. And she just was so confused by that. And then it hit her, I've been doing stuff like this for years at SCVi. And she was beautifully explaining how she never realized the impact and what that did for her until that moment where she was like, wow, SCVi really helped me with something so simple that seems so normal and basic to me, but other kids might not have experienced that, and it's pretty interesting.
That is an interesting concept. Years ago, everyone was familiar with the phrase that children should be seen and not heard. We've all heard the example of that gregarious 3-year-old, 4-year-old that is just so comfortable walking into a room full of adults and voicing their opinion or saying what they think, what's on their mind. And kids just naturally do that, I think, until sometimes we teach them that for whatever reason, their voice is less powerful or less important than the adults around them. Right. But at SCVi, you're right. It's not that you have to teach the kids to come out of that shell. You've just got to not teach them to go into the shell.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it's really nice.
And again, that's an important part of leadership, being able to command a room, being able to be comfortable with a friend, with a relative, with a teacher, with, like I said, local community members or even strangers.
Yeah, and our kids definitely do that.
That's terrific. I know another important part of your campus is called a makery. And that was an interesting word for me the first time I heard it. But now more and more I see that campuses all over town are building makeries. I know the old wood shop in my junior high school was recently turned into a makery. COC, our partners over at COC have developed just an incredible makery. At SCVi, you guys have actually got a couple of different makeries on campus. Can you tell us a little bit about what a makery is and then what the kids use it for, what its purpose on campus is?
So in the makery, the learners are encouraged to come together and work collaboratively on different projects. They might be designing something. I think this is a good chance to share about the tiny house project, huh?
Yeah. So, but in the makery, there's tools. There's different tools that they can use, kind of like your traditional wood shop, like you were saying, but I think like kicked up 5 notches. There's definitely lots of different tools, different materials, just opportunities for them to do very much hands-on learning. And obviously with the support and supervision of adults, and they learn, especially in the young age, how to safely hold something, how to ask for permission when you're going to use something. But we have kids, and especially when it comes to like the Civil War reenactment, we have kids building everything that they need. So it's just a space that provides them those opportunities to do that.
Okay, very cool. So it's, again, that idea of kids having these great ideas and being able to create the things that they're fashioning in their minds while they're developing their projects.
Right.
Not just rolling things out in theory, but actually coming up with these ideas and then having access to the tools and resources they need to actually create it.
Yeah, yeah.
So Nessa mentioned the tiny house. I know your kids got some real hands-on experience building a tiny house a little while back. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So a couple years ago, our learners started a project. It actually had to do with geography, natural resources, and they had to fictitiously build a little tiny home in the area of the world that they chose, and they had to create a budget. They had to do a scale model. They did a little paper 3D model, and then the project just developed so greatly over time that now they are actually building a real tiny house, a very big tiny house, might I add, and we have the support of a local tiny home builder. His name is Elvis Summers, and he actually builds tiny homes for homeless people in the Los Angeles County. And he's working alongside with our kids, and they are building an actual tiny home. They are hammering, they are drilling, they are using all the tools with the adults, but it's really, truly them building it. So it's taken a little bit of time, but we definitely are almost there, and at the end, they are going to donate it to a homeless veteran.
Wow, that is fantastic. Again, having that real-world impact, not just writing a report for a teacher, but building a home for someone who needs a home.
Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing. And again, if our listeners want to get a little bit more information, or if they're interested in enrolling their learners at SCVi, they can go to our website at iLEADSantaClarita.org. That's ILEAD, iLEADSantaClarita.org, or they can call 661-705-4820. Now, Tina, I know you always appreciate a good dad joke.
I sure do. I'm ready for it.
Did you hear about the sloth that was robbed by 3 turtles?
I did not.
Oh, yeah, it was tragic. It was tragic. When the police showed up, they asked the sloth for a description of the 3 turtles, and he said, I can't give you a description. It all just happened so fast. And we're going to head off with that to another commercial break, but join us when we get back on AM 1220 or FM 98.1, your hometown station, KHTS. This is SCVi Charter Schools, Our Way on the Highway.
We'd like to thank our advertisers and readers for their loyal support since 1991.
Linda and Mo Hafizi, owners of our Valley's 2 leading magazines, iLEAD and the Magazine of Santa Clarita.
The only magazine in our valley mailed to 80,000 homes and businesses every month, with over 250 pages of community news and features.
Discover how the Magazine of Santa Clarita can help your business. Call 294-4444.
Superior quality is second nature to us. Just ask our advertisers.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association has a new gallery in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Main and Railroad, right across from the Canyon Theater Guild. The gallery features our members' paintings, sculptures, and one-of-a-kind handcrafted gift items. Whether you're an art lover, buyer, or an artist wishing to join, visit our website at santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming events and exhibits, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Hey there, I'm Tori with your hometown station weather. Mostly sunny this week with highs in the low to mid 90s, overnight lows in the upper 60s. Save the date for the SCVi Chamber Latino Business Alliance Gala, Saturday, September 8th at 6 p.m. at the Newhall Family Theater for the Performing Arts. For more information, go to scvchamber.com. And for all things Santa Clarita Valley related, go to hometownstation.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 on the AM dial and FM at 98.1. This is Matt Watson of SCVi Charter School, your host for Our Way on the Highway. Welcome back, Tina. Welcome back, Nessa. We're here with two of the leaders from SCVi talking about some of the incredible things that they've got on tap this year for our learners and some of the great things that the learners at SCVi are learning to do. They really are learning to lead. And, you know, that takes me to the acronym of our parent organization, iLEAD Schools. SCVi, Santa Clarita Valley International, is the founding school for iLEAD Schools. But iLEAD Schools are in several different locations here in Southern California, as well in other parts of the country. And iLEAD is an acronym. So let's just kind of go through that acronym and see how you all are exemplifying what it is to be an iLEAD learner, part of the iLEAD community. So the I in iLEAD stands for international. What kind of international opportunities? How do you bring an international flavor or education to the learners at SCVi?
So we actually recently had a group of learners go to Puerto Rico, and I know you were lucky enough to join.
That was a fun trip.
Yes. So do you want to tell us about that, Mr. Watson?
Oh, the tables are turning.
Yes.
Absolutely. It was really exciting. You know, a lot of our learners were really touched in somewhat of a negative way, a compassionate way, by Hurricane Maria that hit just about this time last year. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary. And, you know, it was a rough hurricane season for a lot of parts of our country. But when we got to December and our learners read that Puerto Rico still was having a hard time recovering from a hurricane that had hit 3 months prior, a lot of people on the island still didn't have potable water to drink, or electricity. It really shocked them that it was taking so long for the island to recover. So about 20 of them decided to give up their spring break and head down to help with the reconstruction process. They planted over 400 trees in 3 days. They helped build a couple of classrooms, and then they brought, just blew my mind, over $20,000 in supplies, recovery supplies, things like water filtration systems, solar battery chargers, because a lot of these people that were suffering the most, the only thing they had with them was their cell phone to communicate, but they couldn't plug their cell phone in anywhere. So they brought solar-powered chargers and things like that. And I know you guys also host a lot of international exchange learners on campus.
We sure do, yeah. Our kids are very comfortable and familiar with international students, and it's great how they find a way to communicate with each other. Even if 2 different languages, they just so comfortably and willingly figure out and help each other, and it's really cool. Like, our kids are so used to that they don't even bat an eyelash.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, the L in iLEAD stands for leadership. We talked a little bit about it earlier, but how are we developing leaders for the 21st century on campus at SCVi?
I think that's just in our day-to-day and giving our kids leadership opportunities within the classroom, within projects. We very much encourage them to take on anything they want to. If they want to start a club, if they really are passionate about something, we encourage them to take the lead and just go for it. And we're there to support them, but our kids definitely feel that on a day-to-day. I think it's just leadership is definitely one of those things that we just breathe at SCVi.
That's fantastic, and I know the whole reason that you guys have such a strong sports program is because the kids took the reins and kind of demanded it and started their own sports, and now we've got a battery of CIF sports in the high school and sports for even the littlest learners.
Yeah.
We've got, if you've never seen a Pee-wee soccer game, it is one of the most enjoyable sporting events you'll ever attend, so come out to one of our Pee-wee soccer games. It even surprised me to see that your learners are deeply involved in the interview process and the selecting of new staff.
They are. So our staff has to go through a whole day interview process and a hiring process where they're in the classroom, where they meet with a different panel of parents, learners, and they collaborate with our teachers. So they're very much a part of the process, and they give us their feedback on if this facilitator is a good fit for our school and why or why not. And they're able to communicate that from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade.
Wow, they really are leaders.
Yep.
So the E in iLEAD stands for entrepreneurial development, and I know that that's something that's very important to the city of Santa Clarita. This community is really built on the shoulders of small and large businesses. How are your kids learning entrepreneurial development? How are your kids entrepreneurs?
So we do have several learners who have started their own business, who are,
already in school.
Yeah. Wow. Who are looking into starting their own businesses. We have a couple graduates who have started their own business that has started with them developing projects and things at SCVi. We have, as you mentioned before, a learner who has done his own independent film.
Wow.
So we're definitely, developing those entrepreneurs.
And some of the kids that you've worked with in the past, Nessa, also went through a really cool entrepreneurial process, very similar to Shark Tank on television. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. So they were 6th graders, and their facilitators asked them to pitch an idea. They had to come up with some sort of product or idea that was unique and hasn't been done before. And then they had to do the entire business model, finances, create a prototype, and then for their presentation of learning, they brought it before sharks that we reached out to different people in the community, different business owners, different entrepreneurs that could come in and listen to their pitch and then give them feedback as to whether or not they thought it would be successful. And interestingly enough, some of the ideas became real businesses. They were funded. We have kids that, they were given thousands of dollars to back their product, and it's out there.
Wow.
Out there available for the purchase.
That is fantastic. And I know in the high school, our learners don't have the opportunity. They're required to get involved in internships. So let's talk quickly. I know we're running out of time. The arts, there's plentiful opportunities for kids to get involved in the arts, both in their projects and in discrete classes.
Yeah, art class is part of their, regular day and regular curriculum, and a lot of the arts is incorporated into the projects. Our kids are really, really creative, so they have those opportunities. We have our annual Expressival where our kids can showcase their art, and we kind of showcase the different art that we've done throughout the year school-wide. So
great. And then in the high school, deeper level, International Baccalaureate, which is kind of like the AP, International Baccalaureate level arts, whether it's IB theater, IB two-dimensional art, IB music. Yes. So they've got a lot of opportunities in the arts. And then the D is design thinking, and I think that just kind of comprises everything that we've talked about today, where kids are learning to design the new tomorrow, design the future that we're moving into.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, fantastic. Real quick before we sign off, I just wanted to let people know where they can get a little bit more information. One more time, our website is iLeadSantaClarita.org, ILEAD SantaClarita.org, iLeadSantaClarita.org. They can call us at 661-705-4820 if they'd like to request a tour or get some more information about the school. Nessa, can you tell us one more time when the date of that informational meeting was? Was that September 19th?
September 17th.
September 17th. Thank you very much.
At 7 p.m.
Fantastic. 7 p.m. September 17th. If you'd like to come get a little bit more information about our school. During the summertime, I like to read a new book. And Tina, I know you're going to love this one. I'm reading a book about anti-gravity, and I tell you, it's just impossible to put down.
Oh, my God.
But a bump.
Nessa, Tina, I want to thank you for joining us today. This is Matt Watson with SCVi Charter Schools Our Way on the Highway. Thank you again to our guests, and thank you for tuning in. This is KHTS 1220 on your AM dial, 98.1 FM. We'll be back next month, and we hope you will too.